coffee on my teeth. As soon as I hit record, I always feel like, okay, I think I have something in my teeth. Today is one of those days with your hair where nothing looks good, nothing feels good, just rolling with it. And yeah, this is what you get for today. So today, as you can tell by the title of the video, I want to talk about resolutions and goal setting and what my goals are for 2019. I know some people are like really all about making New Year's resolutions. They get really into it. Other people are like really against it because they think it's pointless. There's those two people on the spectrum. I think I'm kind of in the middle when it comes to New Year's resolutions. I love setting goals, and I think that setting goals is really important. I also think that New Year's Eve or January isn't the only time that you should make goals and set resolutions. You can do it any time of the year. A lot of times I actually will do it around my birthday because for me that kind of feels like the start of my new year. No matter when I set my initial goals, I always come back to them over and over and over again. I think that when we set goals, we have to be willing to hold them with an open hand and to be able to be willing to change them and adjust them and add to them or take away from them. I think that goal setting is really good and it keeps us motivated. That's a lot of times when I like to come back to my goals and reevaluate my goals or make new goals is when I'm starting to feel like I'm kind of in like a slump. Slump? It's like a very unsexy word, slump. You know, when you're just kind of unmotivated. So when I start to feel like that, I always like to sit down and either reevaluate my goals or make new goals. And my husband and I do this on a pretty regular basis, where we'll sit down and not only talk about our goals that we have individually, but also our goals as a couple. So yeah, I think goal setting is really important. However, I think it's something that needs to happen multiple times throughout the year and not just once in January. The other thing I have to say about goal setting and resolutions is that you have to realize that when you have a goal, it's something that you're working towards. So that doesn't mean that the day after you set that goal that you're gonna achieve that goal. And I think that a lot of the time that's our expectation. I'm gonna start running every single day. So January 1st rolls around and you're like, okay, I'm gonna run. January 2nd, you're like, okay, I'm gonna run every day. January 3rd, maybe you run, and then by the 4th, 5th day, you're just like, done because you didn't run at all the year before. But you know what I mean? Like we go so strong at the beginning and then by the time February or March rolls around, we've totally forgotten our New Year's resolutions, or we've gotten burnt out, or it was just too much or too overwhelming. And so I think it's important to, one, have grace for yourself, and to, two, take things slow. Work on a goal a little bit at a time and just be patient with yourself. So I think that kind of taking baby steps and building up and working towards a goal is way more sustainable. You implementing a habit into your life. So when I set my goals, I personally love to do it while I'm having my quiet time. And I really love to just ask God, what do you have for me this year? Because that's like the most exciting thing. You know, we can try to manufacture so many things on our own, but it's really cool when you partner with God and you ask him, what do you want me to accomplish this year? I love that. I love just asking God, how do you want me to accomplish these goals? How do you want me to better myself? How do you want me to become more like you? How am I going to see the most fruit that I can this year? And so that's my biggest thing, is just have fun with it and just ask the Holy Spirit to just guide you through making your goals. And the last thing before I get into my goals for 2019 is just to remember to be really specific when you're making your goals and to give yourself a specific action plan. So for example, a lot of the times in the past, I've just written, be more creative, and that's awesome, but there are so many different ways to be creative. So how specifically am I going to implement that into my life? Or maybe it is get healthy. Okay, that's an awesome goal, but how are you going to do that? Are you going to start going to the gym? Are you going to change your diet? Are you going to do this, that, or the other thing? What are your specific goals? So without further ado, let's get into what are my resolutions for 2019. Alright, so my first one is my biggest one by far because it's the one that I suck at the most, and that is time management. Time management is something that I've always kind of struggled with. I've always been a huge procrastinator. I've never been awesome at using my time really well. Just being totally honest, having a real moment, but it's true. And so this year, that is something that I really want to get better at, and a habit that I want to instill into my life where I can be more productive with my time. I believe that that's how I'm going to accomplish the rest of my goals. I find that I'm in that situation a lot of times where I'm like, dang it, like I had all this time, I could have started on something, or I could have been this far in something, or I could have accomplished this. And so for me, I really want to get better at my time management. So my next resolution is to have a weekly Sabbath. And I've been thinking about this for a long time, and maybe once I get into it, I'll do a whole separate video about this or why I think it's important. But ultimately, I think that God gave us a Sabbath for our benefit, to recharge, to refill, so that throughout the week we can really accomplish things and go after things. I don't know exactly what it's gonna look like, but one day where I spend really intentional time with my husband, with the Lord. One thing that I want to do with this weekly Sabbath is on that day, whatever day it is, maybe it's Sunday, maybe it's Monday, maybe it's whatever day of the week ends up working out, I would love to have a social media Sabbath once a week where I don't go on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, you name it, where I take a break. The next one kind of goes along with that, but just in general, to limit my social media use. Last year I realized that I spend so much time on social media. I really want to work on that, and I think that's something that we can all kind of work on. One of the ways that I want to do this is I want to kick the habit of being on my phone first thing in the morning. You know, you wake up, you roll over, you grab your phone, and you just open Instagram. So I would love instead to start my day with my quiet time right away, or even just talking with my husband, you know, instead of just being like on my phone. And the same thing goes for at nighttime, that I don't want the last thing that I look at before I go to bed to be my phone. The next one is to learn Swiss German. This is obviously really important because for those of you guys that don't know, my husband and I moved to Switzerland at the end of August. And so we've been here for about 5 months, and honestly, I have been really bad at being intentional about learning the language. I really want to work on my skills in speaking Swiss German and actually being able to hold a conversation. Okay, my next one is a fun one, and it is to improve my cooking skills. I wouldn't say that I'm a bad cook by any means, and I think my husband would agree that I don't suck at it, but I just don't have a ton of experience. And so it's been something that I've really loved doing over the past few months since being married. And so I'd love to just get better, to be more creative, to be more experimental. Also love to get the courage to cook for other people. I don't really feel the pressure when I cook for my husband, because if it sucks, if it doesn't turn out, we can just laugh about it together. So yeah, I would really love to get to the point where I feel really comfortable hosting people and cooking them dinner. Next goal, and I think this is a lot of other people's resolutions too, is to read more, to finish more books. Now, I start a lot of books, but I'm that person that is really bad at actually finishing books, because then I'll get a new book and I'll get excited about that one, and you know the cycle. And so my goal this year is to read 10 books, which some of you huge book lovers out there are like, 10? Like, that's nothing. The thing is last year I read maybe 3 or 4 books. So yeah, I felt like 10 was a reasonable number, and if I surpass that, that's awesome. Okay, the next one has to do with this, what you guys are watching me on. That's YouTube. YouTube is something that I've really enjoyed doing the last few months. I've always wanted to kind of have a YouTube channel. It's always been like one of those weird things that I'd love to do, but I was always like scared to do it and thought that people would think that it was really weird, and I'm sure people do think it's weird, but whatever. But obviously when I moved to Switzerland, I was like, okay, I'm gonna start this and I'm gonna do this. My goal for this channel is to upload once a week. I don't know if I'm gonna get like a set date that I'm gonna upload, but yeah, once a week is my reasonable goal for now. And if it ends up being more than once a week, that's awesome. And who knows, maybe by the end of the year it'll be more. But for now, once a week is my goal. So earlier I was talking about being specific and how I would always write down, you know, be more creative, and how that is so general. I really felt like the Lord was like, make specific goals for this. So I was like, okay, what are my specific things that I want to do to be creative? And so the first one kind of in that category is that I want to write more. I love writing. I always have. I was a girl that I loved like English language arts in school, and I journal a lot, like a lot. But I really want to kind of push myself out of my comfort zone. Love to find some way to be intentional with my writing that goes beyond just journaling during my quiet time. Potentially one of my goals in my life, like long-term goal, not for this year, is to write a book. I think that would be awesome. And so I think that just getting in the habit of doing more like creative writing things, writing articles, even just if nobody sees like the pieces that I write, just having them for myself. And who knows, maybe they could all go towards a book one day. We'll see. All right, the next thing is to learn Adobe InDesign. If you don't know what Adobe InDesign is, it is, how would I describe it? It goes along with like Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Lightroom. It's all in like the Creative Cloud, but InDesign is for graphic design. I would just love to teach myself that program and just to be able to do more graphic design things. Another one of the reasons why I would love to learn InDesign is also because of my next goal, which kind of scares me to say. And I honestly was scared to write it down. I was like, no, I don't want to write it down. I just really felt like the Lord was like, this is a dream from me and you need to write it down. So I was like, okay. I don't want to give too much detail about it, but a few months back, I just had this kind of dream of designing a prayer journal that's directed at praying for the world, praying for global revival, praying for revival in countries all over, in more of a prayer journal that's looks cool, you know, that ticks all the boxes. I really want designing this prayer journal to be my big project for this year. So my last goal is to stay connected with my friends back in Canada, in Hawaii, in the States. I kind of have friends everywhere. But yeah, just because I'm living here in Switzerland doesn't mean that I want to give up or neglect my relationships and my friendships from back home. And so the specific goal that I set for myself is to FaceTime, Skype, whatever, one of my friends every month. And that doesn't include family. I'm someone that really sucks at staying in touch with people when I'm long distance, and I really want to get better at that, and I do really want to keep investing in my friendships and my relationships that I have from back home that I've had for years. All right, so that wraps up my 2019 goals. Overall, I just feel like my goal this year is just to be more intentional with my time, with my friendships, with my relationship. I hope that you guys enjoyed hearing them. I'd love to know what your goals are for this year. Just remember, be patient with yourself, give yourself grace, set reasonable goals, and keep them with an open hand. You never know when God wants to rearrange things, to shift things, to add more goals. I hope that you guys are having an awesome new year, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.